Right, so I'm back and it's been a little while and I have pulled my canes out of the fridge because it was so warm in here and they weren't solidifying very well. I put them in the fridge to give them an extra chance to harden up so I can slice them properly. And I also took the time and reduced this little spiral cane down because I want to make sure that it's not going to cover up my whole bead. So I think I may actually reduce it down even a little bit more. So I'm going to cut this. So I now actually have some leftovers from some other time. So I have one here and I have another one here. I'm going to set those aside because maybe I can use those again for something else. And reduce it down a little bit more. But I do want to put my stripes on top of my white first. So I did say I was going to make an attempt at putting some tin foil maybe on the white before I do, just to give it some extra shine. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'm going to give it a try. So I've got a little piece of tin foil here, just a little one, scrap. And I wanted to do it with my larger beads, simply because they're focal points. So I think it's more important than the smaller beads. So I'm ripping off some little bits of tin foil in various shapes and sizes. Ow, I keep catching that finger that I sliced on things. And they're not very big pieces, nothing major. And I don't even know if it's going to show up, really. But if it does show up, it might give a little bit of extra shine in the background. So we'll set that aside. I'm just randomly going to stick these on the white, just like a couple on each ball, like so. That one's already got one stuck, how handy. This is just little ones, so I think I'll do 3 little ones on that one. And I'm going to give them a roll just to make sure that they're stuck on there before I try to put anything on top. If they're a little wrinkled, that's okay, because that might actually add some sort of interest as well. So whatever catches the light, because I think having translucent in the canes that are going on top means that some of the light will get through, and when it gets through, it'll reflect back and give the beads themselves some shine. That's my hope. I may be wrong. This may not work out at all. It may not even show up. But it certainly doesn't hurt to give it a try, because you see lots of things that have, especially faux stones and things like that, labradorite and all those kind of opals, and they put a lot of gold and silver foils in them before they do their marbly blends and stuff to give it that look. And if it works for that, I see no reason why it wouldn't work for this. Because a lot of the cases, that's all that is it's layers of translucence and things on top of some foils that give it that really nice kind of glimmery touch of a shine here and there kind of a thing. So that's my thought process. Like I say, it might not work. When I decided I was going to do some layering with translucent, I decided I would give this a try. So there are my center balls with their little bits of silvery glimmer to them. And I'm just going to cut as thin as I can some stripes. And I'm going to lay my stripes so you can see through a little bit with the light. I don't know if you can tell. Maybe if I put the white behind it, you can kind of see through. So I'm just going to kind of wrap it around. Oops. It's not going to fit all the way around, but that's okay. Because what I'm doing here is I'm just going to, there. I'm going to make it fit, and then I'm going to roll it around in my hand, and it should spread a certain amount. If it may not go all the way around, but that's okay, because the whole idea here is to have some stripes with other things on top. So we'll see, how does that look? That's not too bad. However, I do think if I make this a little wider, maybe it will go all the way around. For an experiment, it's not a bad thing, but I would kind of like to have it. I think it's sweating a little bit because I pulled it out of the fridge. One end is definitely not spreading out as far as the other one. Anyways, so it might not be as wide, but if I can get the stripe to go all the way across, I haven't been keeping it square. As you can see, the little shine is just, it is so humid. So let's try number 2. As thin as I can slice it. And usually the best way to try and get a nice thin slice is to be able to look straight up and down on it so you can see, which is what exactly I can't do because of the distance between where I'm standing and where this board is underneath my camera. I'm finding it a little bit hard to see the right angle, but there, that's still better. So we can kind of ease it around like so. I'm going to rub with my fingers a little towards the ends. I'm having holes in the ends, so I'm not too worried about whether it does cover the whole bead. These ends are going to be strung together, so I don't worry too much about that part of it. But I do think this bead looks nicer than that one. Some of my shiny metal is showing through because it is thin in that spot. So it's just a little glimmer, which is kind of cool. It may not show through very much because I don't see it anywhere else except for where it's thin, but every little bit of something helps maybe. So we're just going to keep doing this, and I have, like I said, I had 8 of these, which means I have 6 more, and I'm going to go ahead and cut 6 slices so I can get this out of the way. I don't know what I grabbed that for. 4. 5. Ooh, that one's really nice and thin. Learn from my mistakes and try not to put these beside it, because the one time I right through a cane that I had sliced because I had set it too close to what I was still working on. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get that out of my way. And I'm just going to grab each one and roll it up in my stripes. See if I can't get it all the way around, or close to all the way around, by kind of stretching it and playing with it. There we go. This one didn't get very thin on the one side, it's thinner on the other side. It's gonna play until I get it all the way around. There we go. Then we're going to stretch the ends towards the end. Like so. I didn't do that with the first one. Oops. I'm trying, if I get a chance to actually pay attention to what I'm doing, I'm trying to make sure that I lay the stripes over top of some of the foil, or at least one of the pieces of foil, so that it has a chance to shine through. so that one turned out quite thin. The problem with trying to roll it flatter to make it longer is that I got thinner pieces now, but that's okay. And I have 2 left. I think I have both pieces of foil under that stripe, so that might turn out pretty cool. Hopefully. Like I say, I don't know if this foil is actually going to show through in any way, shape, or form. It might just be the odd little glimmer that actually shows up. But it certainly can't hurt to have it there, so. This one looks like one of the first ones. It looks kind of short. I can definitely see through now that it's thin. I can see through that translucent part, so I'm seeing that as a positive. So now all that's left for these ones is to give them a good roll. I'm not real good at making perfect circles. Some people can get them just so perfect. I don't know if it's just a lack of patience on my part. Now my hands are warm, of course, because it's humid, and so some of it might smear around a little bit, but I think it's just interesting when it's got kind of wavies like that. And so once this is done, we're going to take the spiral cane. We're going to trim the end off till we get a nice spiral, and then we're going to lay a few spirals over top of our stripes. And hopefully it looks nice. I'm hoping that it gives a nice layered kind of a thing. Oh, that one's really not round. I shouldn't talk and roll at the same time, I guess. I think the little warbles and wobbles are from the different directions your hand take when you're trying to make the ball circular. And that's what gives it some interesting stripes. I do like the color combination. It is very ocean wavy, which I love. Like so. Last one for the big guys. Like so. All right. So this hopefully doesn't smear because it's cold now. So there's our little spiral. We're going to try and get as many nice thin spirals as we can out of it without flattening like that. See, this is my issue. It is cold, so that shouldn't be the problem. Maybe it's time to crack out my X-Acto knife and see if that's sharper than my blade. Maybe that's part of the problem. Still smeared a little bit. There, that one's better. That one's smeared. So if you go too fast, you get some smear. If you go too slow, you get some smear. All right, I'm going to try something. Sometimes I think part of my issue has more to do with sticky bits on my blade, so I'm just going to clean my blade off. See if maybe that's my issue. Maybe it's just residue from all the times that you watched me and my blade stuck. That's why it's not going smoothly. So cross our fingers and hope for the best. It's a nice thin slice. There, okay, maybe that was my issue. Too much residue. Now, because it does flatten on the end when you do this, I kind of try to roll it in between slices, because I don't want to end up with a half moon shaped spiral. I want it to stay roundish. It's not obviously perfectly round because, again, it's humid, it's hot, and although this was in the fridge, it is warming up quite quickly. So, a translucent spiral. It's not a very even spiral. I don't even know if we'll be able to see through this. Let me put it on there and see whether or not we can see any stripe through the spiral. I don't think we can. I guess we'll have to wait and see when it's baked whether or not that actually did work. I'm trying to thin it out with my fingers. So all that reducing it down to a smaller spiral didn't really do me any good. But hey, fly by the seat of your pants caning, right? Right. Meanwhile, I think though the pattern's kind of cool. I had a really nice thin one. I think I only want to put two per thing. If I'm gonna have a white stripe there that didn't get covered up, I might as well put a spiral on it. Right, right. So this is what I'm getting. It's not perfect, but it is interesting. And if, when it's baked, that translucent becomes more translucent and we can see the stripes through the spirals, then I will have achieved my goal. Little dog hair stuck in there. Put that there and cover up my tinfoil. They almost look like little shells. I could always say that was my plan. Ocean waves with little red shells. Fake it till you make it, right? I can say that. That one's a bit smeared on that side. This side's better. Here we go. Try and get them nice and thin so I don't have to spread them out so far, and I can have some different sizes. I want them all to be big. So that might give me one smaller one, one bigger one. Like so. So I've got 3 more, so I kind of need 5 more of my little spirals. Almost quite thin, not very even, but quite thin. I love people who can do perfectly round little spirals. I don't know how they do it. Always utterly impressed. Because obviously you can see that does not work for me. Four, five, one more. There we go. Set that aside. So, randomly stick these on here. Like so. I'll put that one on the ends. Why not? That may not show up very well because the ends are where I'm going to poke the holes and the ends are where they're going to be strung together. So I put that there just because, but it might not have been my smartest plan. So these are all the big ones done. So now we have to poke the holes. And I usually for that use, I don't know if I can get it out of here. Ouch. I put it on the skewer, as I said, but I usually poke the hole with this first. And as I said, I want to, this is a stylus I made. It's just basically a darning needle that I made a handle for out of polymer clay. And I put the hole through one direction and then I put it through the other direction. And then you can kind of widen the hole with the skewer. It doesn't distort as much if it's just kind of pushing through a hole that already exists. Spin that around quite a few times and make sure it's kind of spinning freely. Here's one. You can see where the white, that's where the ends are, and I'm trying to go across the stripes. There we go. Sometimes I was doing these with, what do you call them, eyelets, because the nice big fat beads are good for Pandora bracelets and things like that. And so you can do that with the eyelets. That one's not very centered, as you can see. It's a little off center. And you put the eyelets in on each end, so you got the little metal ring showing on each end. And it's usually kind of pretty. That one looks a little more centered than the last one did. Like so. So I'm not sure if it turned out the way I expected. The stripes are a little bolder than I expected. Not seeing the stripes through the red spirals. However, the main idea was to have nice big chunky beads, which I have, that have the colors of my new wardrobe in them so that I can wear them with most of my new wardrobe, which I have. While there is red in my new wardrobe, there is also corally colored stuff, which I don't have anything that matches. I may at some point try to use what's left of this and add some yellowish to it and see if I can't bring out a nice corally color. But in the meantime, this might be corally enough for me to get away with. So I can wear it with any of my blues and turquoises. I can wear it because of the gold with my beiges. Obviously it has white there. So what I need to do now is make something that goes with my black and white stuff. So that'll be next on my agenda. I don't usually go for chunky necklaces. I usually like kind of light, delicate things, but apparently, like I said, if I want the attention to go away from my big fat belly, then I need to give it somewhere to go. And that's why I've been told that I need chunky necklaces. And so I am creating chunky necklaces. Now I thought I had brought, no, I did 2 skewers. I thought I brought 2 skewers. Because I'm running out of room on this skewer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put each end of this across a baking tray. Probably like a 9x11 cake tray or something. And so I'm trying to split up what I have. I had 8 and I have 6. So I'll have to put 7, I guess, on each skewer when I bake it. Although really these are quite a bit bigger than the other ones. All right. They're obviously not all going to fit on one skewer is my point. I just need enough room that they're not touching. I don't need them to roll around on there while I'm cooking them. I have occasionally gotten them so that they're kind of stuck on the skewer and I have to give them a pretty good yank to get them off. That's why I spin them so often when I put them on there. I don't want it to be such a tight hole. Maybe it's because the wood expands a bit when it gets hot. I don't know why, but every so often I get some that are kind of really glued on there. All right, so there's one. Now I have to do, might as well put a hole in this while I'm at it. I have to do my smaller beads. And I think, ouch, jeepers. I think perhaps because I've got my focal beads already going here with the red, that maybe I won't put the red bits on my smaller beads. Maybe I'll just do the stripes. This is deforming a little bit, as you can see, so I'm just going to take that out and put it in the other direction. There. So I still have these 6. So I think I will just, where did I put it? Just do the stripes on these ones. 1, 2, 3. Now remember what I told you about if you push down from the same direction all the time? See how the bottom is widening? So I'm going to flip it over when I cut the other ones. It's just the pressure, the downward pressure kind of widens out the bottom. 4, 5. Somehow I've got a sparkle or something stuck in there. 6. So this should be all I need. These ones are a little smaller, so the coverage should be better. That one's not quite centered. What I did is I cut straight down into my nail in the corner of my nail. And it's not really anything sticking out to catch, and yet I still keep managing to catch that little piece of skin. And it hoits. It hoits, it hoits. My middle daughter used to say that. We really used to laugh at her because somehow or other, I don't know where she picked it up, but she always sounded kind of like she had a Boston accent from a little child. And so she said, "Look, Mummy, a Boyd." And when she fell, she said, "I hoit." I never quite figured out where that little twang came from, that somehow she learned hoit and Boyd instead of bird and hurt. It was always very cute. All right, so yeah, I think I'm gonna leave these little beads. I don't think I need to do the red spirals on these ones because they're not the focal beads. Some of them will be around the back anyways, so I'm just going to do my stripies on them. Or at least some of them. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll alternate. Maybe I'll have 2 beads on each side that have these, and I'll have 2 beads. I'll put these aside. Maybe I'll have 2 beads on each side that are just these. That might be kind of cool. 3 slices for each. I think it's actually thundering outside. I can hear something. So I'll put 3 random slices on each bead. Like, if I can get them to stick. That's what I mean by my hands are so hot and sweaty here. It's not very even. All right, so let's see how that looks when I do that. I think it looks like it needs a couple more. 4. That one's all squished. Oh my goodness. Such a rough time with all this soft clay. And maybe here we'll do 5. Let's try that. See how that looks. I'm going to use one from before since they're getting all distorted anyways. Got a nice long skinny one. I'm just going to put it there. Well, that's a nice contrast. Okay, so that took like 5 or 6. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That makes sense. Kind of like box sides, 1 for each side, northwest, south, east. All right, like so. Like so. Yes, I think that's very nice and bright and colorful. Which is not. Alright, so we're back again. My beads have come out of the oven. They were a little stuck to the stick. I have been doing some working to get them off of the stick. As you can see, I had to kind of wiggle them around a little. The red spiral did go partially transparent. You can see color or shadow, I guess is what it would be, behind them. You can't see necessarily the color of the stripes underneath. So that's a little disappointing. You can just see different shadows and stuff. But it did go translucent. I think they are nice and bright and chunky. And once I get some sort of shine on it, and what I use is I use furniture floor polish. Just because I really hate sticky. I have a real issue with sticky. And when I first started doing polymer clay, all the different things that it said that I could use as a glaze all left sticky on everything. And then I never wore it or used it because I just can't stand the texture of having that little tiny bit of tackiness. So at some point I'm going to, let's see, this one's really good and stuck. At some point I'm going to put these together. I have no idea how long it's going to be. I've got my big fellas. Like so. I think that's a big fella. think that's a little fella. They're actually pretty close. And, no, that's two little ones. That's two little ones. Somewhere in here, I'm going to put the red one by itself. I haven't decided if it's going to be the last one or if it's going to be in the middle. So I've got that. It's probably going to be a little over choker size, hopefully collarbone size. Oh, there we go, finally. And if I put a few little beads on the end or something in between each one, it should turn out really well. What I planned to do when I did this, I made the nice big hole because I decided that I wanted to put it on a ribbon because I want it to be nice and chunky. I don't want to have something really thin on the ends, and I didn't want to go to the trouble of beading a whole bunch of stuff. So what I decided I wanted to do is I'm going to try and string these onto a nice ribbon, and that should give it some extra texture as well. So this is what we turned out with. I hope you enjoyed the videos, and I hope that you have some fun playing with the idea of layering translucents. If I did this again, what I would be doing is making wider translucent stripes. So I would have the color being thinner and the translucent being wider. So what I would probably do is layer a couple translucents in between each stripe, because I think if we did that, then it would have more showing through. Same with the spiral. I think if the spiral had been a couple layers of translucent with the layer of red, then I think it would have shown through the color underneath. Because it's close, it's very close. It's just, I think that because the stripe is so thin, it doesn't really have a chance to show what's under it. That's my thought anyways. So thanks for coming back and flying by the seat of your pants with me. I hope you'll come back again. I have a couple things on the go. I got out my extruder, and I've got a whole bunch of extruded pieces here that I'm going to play with and see if I can't make some sort of like stained glass kind of cane. Something kind of cross between stained glass and a quilt. So that's my plan. Not that it's much of a plan. So toodles till then. Take care. Hi there, I'm back just for a quick little aside. I thought you might be interested in this because when I was tidying up from my necklaces, or my beads I should say, I came across my striped cane and my bullseye cane that I had been using for it, and I decided that it was just too pretty not to do something with like right now. And so what I ended up doing is digging out a glass candle holder that I had kicking around. I had gotten this because I wanted to try mixing it with food color and glue to make a sea glass kind of a thing. But I decided that I really liked this, and I thought this looked like ocean and this looked like shells. And so this is what I've done. I've just covered it, and I've sliced a whole bunch of these and laying them this way. And then some people basically, once you've got the pieces on, you just kind of ease them together with your thumbs so you can get your seams to line up. Now, as you can see, when this gets cut, it was squishing down, and there are wide sections on the ends of some of these. But I think it looks kind of cool. It gives it a nice pattern. So I've lined my stripes up as well as can be this way, and then to smooth it out, some people will rub their hands over it to smooth it, but I have really hot hands, and I find that smears. So basically I just lay it down on my glass, put my hand in the glass and roll it around and things like that, and give it just a little bit of pressure and a little bit of a roll, and it smooths out quite nicely, as you can see. So this, I'm just going to turn on my little lamp I have here. This is translucent clay mixed in here, if you remember, because I wanted to layer things. So this is what it should look like with a candle in it, and it should be a little more translucent even once it's baked. So if you can see that glow, I think it's going to be very cool. Now this is totally off topic, of course, because I was doing a bead video. However, I just thought that you might get a kick out of the fact that you can use your cane ends for all sorts of different things. And I was quite pleased with the result, so I thought that I would show you what I've got. So I'm going to go bake that, and I hope you've enjoyed the video and that you have some fun playing with your cane ends as well. Toodles for now. Bye.